Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Not exactly sure what we're going to do today, but I know it involves playing with the new Natasha Denona Pastel Palette. This is one of those palettes that has gotten some really interesting reviews on YouTube. I've watched a few, and for the most part, it seems like people are having a hard time with this palette. They generally feel like this is really just for pastel lovers. I'm not even sure why that needs to be said since it is called the Pastel Palette, and I have no idea why that surprises people, but nonetheless, there are reviews like that, and others claiming that maybe some of the formulas are too light and there's not enough depth in here, like this is the darkest color in the palette. Anyway, I'm pretty intrigued by this whole like Easter egg color story here. It's very out of the ordinary for me. I do love a good, sort of typical warm or neutral basic eyeshadow look any day of the week. And I like some cool tone looks too. But on occasion, I really like to spruce things up and try something out of the ordinary. So I have a look from the Natasha Denona Instagram page that I am going to try to replicate today. And here is a little bit of footage of the look. So cross your fingers and I don't mess this up. I also wanted to share, I'll be using a few other products that I'm just curious to see how they perform. One is the Kat Von D. It's the liquid lipstick in the color Berlin, which is this color here. And by the way, here are the Natasha Denona swatches from the palette because I did a little reel on this earlier today, an Instagram reel. But I think I want to do the look that I showed you with this lip, and hopefully that doesn't mess things up and get like too clownish on the face. And I want to use a product that I have never used before that came as samples with my Sephora order. And it's like one of these brow pomade kinds of things. I have one from Anastasia and one from Benefit. So I'll use one or the other in my eyebrows. I've never done a pomade. I usually just do a pencil. So let's see how that goes. And I have this crazy, ambitious desire to also talk with you about audiobooks. I know that's super random, but it's been on my mind and I'll share with you why as we go through the tutorial today. So I have prepped my face, of course, with moisturizer, the Bobbi Brown face primer, the vitamin enriched face base. I have also primed my eyeshadow area with the Anastasia eye primer, which is white. It's a much lighter base for the look that I'm going for. And I have prepped my under eye area here with the Ulta Beauty Under Eye Primer, which does a little bit of the same of the Becca Under Eye Primer, the blue one that I have been obsessed with that helps sort of just fill in the spaces here. If you're new to my channel, I am currently 47 years old and experiencing the initial signs of aging on my skin where my jowls are starting to drop a little bit. I'm getting some discoloration in certain areas, and certainly I'm starting to develop some wrinkles and so forth. Nothing out of the ordinary for the aging process, just trying to figure out what to do with my makeup now as a result. So let's get into this tutorial and maybe talk about some audiobooks if I get my act together. So one of the things I have heard a lot of reviewers say about using this palette is to make sure that you have clean brushes, which is important because I am the queen of having like a set of brushes just for the week and then just kind of wiping them off on a microfiber cloth every day as I start anew. Got some clean brushes here. And I also wanted to honor the Natasha Denona sort of method of application. These are actually Sonia G, Sonia Kashuk, and more Sonia G brushes. I have a lot of Sonia G. But she uses smaller paddle brushes like this to apply and it does very little like overall blending with these big sort of crease brushes. This isn't a big one, but I have a little one here. The other thing that I wanted to pull out to use that I have not used in forever. Who remembers the Tati Beauty Blender? This was before the big drama happened, and she released this as one of the products in her Tati Beauty lineup. She had the palette, the beautiful Tati Textured Neutrals palette #1, which I love and use often. And then she released this, and there was a little one with it as well that I have somewhere around here. But the idea was that this is supposed to be an all-in-one for application of a lot of different products, and that you can wash it. It was a washable product. So I thought I would pull that back out just to see how that goes. So the first thing in the Instagram tutorial is to put this sort of in the inner eye area here, and then Natasha Denona goes in with this bluish, beautiful, like robin's nest. Well, it's not really robin's nest. It's almost like a greeny turquoisey color. So the first one is called Zest, and then this one is called Brisk. Zest and Brisk. But put Brisk on the outer third of the eyelid, and then also she buffs it up into the crease. So I'll start with that. I'm going to use the smallest of the paddle brushes that I pulled out for the inside part with that green Zest. So it's a really beautiful day here in Central Virginia. Yesterday it was about 80 degrees, which was nice. That was almost like summer-like. I don't know that I was totally ready for such warm weather, but it was fun, and it was super duper windy. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted a reel of my hair just getting tossed by the wind, like whoosh, all over the place. By the way, you see what time it is? This is my problem on the weekends. It is 2:30 at this point, and I'm just now doing my makeup on a Sunday afternoon. Why? Because I decided I wanted to have 4,786 cups of coffee, and I wanted to get on Instagram, and I wanted to make pancakes for the kids, and we ate some salmon this morning. I mean, we were just all over the place. I ordered some fragrances online. I have a channel on fragrances and things that smell good called Veronica Says, if you are interested in that sort of content. So yeah, we've been all over the place this morning. The kids are doing different things, and my husband is getting ready to go to the gym with one of our kids. But one of the things that he did this morning is go around the backyard and pick up sticks. There's a lot of sticks. We have big trees in the backyard, and they drop a lot of sticks when it gets windy because they're older and they have decaying limbs, I guess. And so anyway, he picked up some of the sticks and decided to, this feels really bright. Does this look bright to you guys? I'm just going to use my fingers to kind of pat it down here. And I think I'm going to regret this later because I have not put on concealer and foundation yet, but let's just see how things go. Anyway, I digress. He decided to burn the sticks is where I'm going. So I'm going into that like bluish, greenish, turquoisey, minty color. Really, really pretty. Okay, I need prayers. So he's, oh my God. Yeah, oh my God, look how bright that is. So he started to burn the sticks out back, and I had the windows open because today it's probably like in the 60-ish degree range. It's almost like a fall day. You know how when autumn approaches and you're just starting to get that cooler weather, the wind's picking up, there's that smell of like autumn in the air. Well, when he was burning the sticks, I thought, oh my gosh, it just brought back such great memories of bonfires and such that I decided to open the window even more and enjoy all of the smokiness coming into the house as a smell. Yeah, I did that. But it was cool. Like I actually went outside and was like, this smells so good. And I ended up putting on a perfume that reminds me of woodiness, which is Tory Burch Knock on Wood. The bottle looks like this. Like how pretty is that orange? I never even associated that it has an orange bottle and it's woody and it reminds me of fall, pumpkins and so forth. But it smells really good. It's great to sort of match that woody, smoky scent that's coming in from the outside. So yeah, that's happening. And it's Sunday, and I think we're gonna bake a lasagna tonight. And then I gotta get ready for the next day. So what's your nighttime routine? I'd love to know what you do to wind down. For me, of course, if I wore makeup for the day, the first thing is to get it all off with a cleansing balm and all of that. But the other thing I like to do, honestly, I'm like, if you had asked me 10, 15, 20 years ago, my nighttime routine would be very different. But like in the past, maybe 4 years or so, what I would love to do is just put on pajamas and get in the bed Just get in the bed, get my makeup off. In fact, I'll take my makeup off in the bed. Not in the bed like with the covers on, you guys, but like I'm sitting on the bed watching TV, getting my makeup off and all of that, and just kind of winding down for the night. I feel like I need to put a little bit more of that green stuff because I'm a glutton for crazy colors. Yeah, okay. So anyway, yes, and that winds me down for the night. We watch a little TV. Right now we're watching all the dating shows like 90 Day Fiance, Love at First Sight, or is it Marriage at First Sight? It's the show where the people marry each other without seeing each other ever. Like they meet for the first time at the altar. And then the social experiment is to see whether they actually fall in love and decide to stay married or divorce. We love those kind of shows. We also watched the entire season of Love is Blind recently, like binged watched it. And that's the show where people enter pods. They don't know each other, they don't see each other, and they enter like these pods that face each other. And they date blindly, like through the wall. There's a wall between them, but there's microphones and they can hear each other and they talk and they get to know each other. And then they might select someone from the other group. Like let's say there's 15 guys and 15 girls and they may select each other. So let's say John selects Susie and then they meet for the first time and so on and so forth. And they propose to each other in the pods, which is weird. So John will say, Susie, I'm falling in love with you. Will you marry me? And Susie says, yes, you're everything I've ever dreamed of. And then they end up meeting, like they get ready to meet, the doors open and they rush to each other and you get to know, are they actually attracted to each other? Will they actually go through with the marriage? Super duper interesting social experiment. I'm rambling. Let's see what the next color is for the eyes. I just watched the little tutorial again on Instagram and realizing I went in way too far with these colors. Natasha, we're on a first name basis. She just kind of tapped it on the outsides. I kind of pulled this green in too much, but let's go. The next color that she used all over the lid is this one, Mint Frost. So, by the way, I do like the packaging. I think the packaging is super pretty. It reminds me of a tropical sunset. So anyway, lots of shows. Do you want to hear about audiobooks while we do this? Let me know what you think of this little segment. By the way, do you like audiobooks? I find that I binge watch on YouTube content and I forget to go the literary route and go back to books. And I hate that because when I do listen to audiobooks, I really enjoy it and feel like it enhances my life. So I thought I would just share with you the names and a little bit about some of the recent audiobooks I have listened to, like in the past year. There have probably been maybe 10 to 12 total, but maybe talk about 5 of them, 4 that worked out. I'm looking at my list. And 1 that was just what did I do and why did I waste my time on that? And then I have 3 in process because I have like ADD when it comes to audiobooks. And unless it's like the most captivating book in the world, I kind of need to toggle between books. So anyway, here's the Mint Frost. And I want to start off with I'm going to the books. I want to start off with The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. So this is a book that took me a while to get into because it starts off really strange. By the way, I won't do any spoiler alerts, I promise. But it was slow. And the guy has a British accent. The narrator has to be wonderful or I'm out. Like I can't hang out with an audiobook where the narrator doesn't, like the voice doesn't attract me. So anyway, Harold is married to this woman named Maureen. And Maureen has become sort of disenchanted with Harold through the years. They've been married for a long time. She's at the point where she's getting kind of like sick of his normal habits and whatever. And they're just in like the doldrums of a marriage that has been together for a long time. I've got a lot of fallout going on. And what does fallout mean? It's when your shadow is a little bit crumbly and comes onto your face, which is to be expected with metallics. And one of the great reasons to do your eyeshadow before your foundation, but you can always keep a powder brush nearby and just sort of get as much back off as you can, or you can use a fixative like a setting spray when you go in, spray it before you put it on your eyelid and it will help everything sit down and not crumble. I was a little bit lazy and didn't do that, so I've got fallout. Anyway, Harold hears that someone from his past who's named Queenie Hennessy is her name, is about to pass. She's in hospice and she's way across the country or whatever. So he decides to go on this pilgrimage, which is why it's called the Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. And he walks 300 miles. And the story is all about the revelations and insights that he has along the way as he remembers his life with his wife Maureen and Queenie Hennessy, which was not a love interest, by the way, just a friend from the past. But he meets just some interesting people along the way. And it ends up being in the realm of like what I call magical realism, kind of, sort of. If you're familiar with that genre of literature, it was typically Latin American literature where the author blurs the lines between reality and magic. So if I were a character in the book, I might fly in the book, but the way that it's written is led to believe as though I really have the power to fly. So kind of designed to blur the lines. I don't think that The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry was intended to be anything like magical realism, but it kind of took that tone for me, and it was touching. There were some funny parts. Once you get into it, like give it a good 10 or 15 minutes if you're on audiobook, and if you're reading it, give it a good chapter or so to get to like a place where you're like, okay, what's happening with Harold today? But for me, I judge an audiobook by would I listen to it again? Is it something that I would want to at some point in my life listen to again? And that is one that I would have to say yes. So what are we thinking about this look so far? Anytime I do these crazy looks, I leave the room, the bedroom, and I go out in my house and forget that I have a crazy look on and that the people in my house are not ready for it. And their reactions are always like, whoa, what's happening with your face, Mom? I'm like, what? What's the matter? Okay, then Natasha Denona, back to the eyeshadow, takes this limoncello color, which is a repeat color, by the way, of a color that she has in the Tropic palette. There's another repeat in here. It's the Mint Frost. She has the Mint Frost in there as well. So Natasha takes the Adriatic and kind of stamps it across the eye. So let's go there. And Adriatic, by the way, is this very light, it's called limoncello, but it's almost like a topper color, okay? And by the way, this color is what I have in here. And Zest, which is barely noticeable here, but obviously applied very well. So let's go on to the next book, The Parable of the Sower. Whew. So listen, if you like dystopian literature where there's some portrayal of a society that is disrupted in some form or fashion, there's something really off about it, Parable of the Sower might be for you, but let me forewarn you, you kind of need to have a steel mind, heart, and gut as you are listening to that audiobook or reading it. Oh yeah, that kind of does, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but this limoncello does give the same kind of ethereal light effect as the Instagram tutorial does. Back to the book, it's centered on the protagonist in the book. Her name is Olamina, and she is this young woman living in this walled community set in California somewhere. And what you understand at the outset of the novel is that some disastrous thing has happened in nature where there's very little waterfall, like rainfall. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the big thing. There were also some politics happening at the time, but the rainfall was the big thing that created scarcity, like tremendous scarcity, where people that had anything had to wall themselves away from others, like hide away from these like marauding bands of bandits and thieves and pyromaniacs and things like that. So it's set up like that. And it's the story of Olamina, who is the, like I said, protagonist. She's young. I think she's 18 as the novel kicks off, or somewhere in that range, trying to figure out what she wants to do about her life setting and her family's life setting. And she starts, this is important, it's not a spoiler alert, but you need to know this if you get into the novel. She starts this religious movement called Earthseed. And I will do one quick little spoiler, and that's that she ends up escaping the walled area narrowly and it's the story of what happens next. And it's the setup for a series of novels that come after it. I started the second one in the series and didn't get actually I did get very far. I got like 2/3 of the way in, but I haven't finished it. I need to go back and finish that one. But super interesting story and eerie in the sense that it was the novel was written in 1993, but it's set in today. I think it was set for like 2022. Well, we're in 2022 now. 2022, was it? 23, something like that. Somewhere in this 5-year period that we're in, either a few years before or a few years afterward. And it's not hard to imagine that this kind of situation would have actually been the kind of situation that we would be in now had, things turned a certain way in terms of our environment or politics or whatever. It's a really, really interesting novel, well done in audiobook, and kept me thinking, gosh, what's going to happen with Olamina next? So next in the tutorial, Natasha goes in with this starlit color in the lower lash line, which is shimmer shade, so that scares me a little bit, but I'm gonna follow. Listen, Natasha Denona is are y'all sick of hearing about her yet? I hope not. She's my favorite makeup artist. But to be honest with you, I would love to be in her chair, getting her to do my makeup. That's interesting. I'd love to be in Scott Barnes' chair. He is like the king of the bronze goddess look. Would love to have him do my makeup. Hindash, I'd love to have him. Pat McGrath, even Patrick Ta, and any of the other. There's a woman named Harush, I think is her name, who's a makeup artist. Sheesh, how fun would that be to have them just glam you up? Okay, so that's interesting. I may have to reapply a little bit of this after I do the concealer and the foundation. Let's get into the next book, which is This Tender Land. This Tender Land by William Kent Kruger. I've also listened to Ordinary Grace from him, and he has another sort of more lighthearted series about, I think it's like a sheriff or something like that, it's a law enforcement officer, and it's set in either like the northwestern territories of Canada or Alaska. I don't remember quite well, but I listened to one of those books. I don't think I'll go for those again. This Tender Land and Ordinary Grace, I would absolutely recommend to you all. We're going to go in with the Tarte Ultra Creamy Shape Tape. So the protagonist in that book, oh gosh, let me just tell you that this book is uplifting, it's shocking, it's surprising. You want to cheer for the protagonist, and there's moments when you just have they're just these tender moments where you want to reach into the novel and save him from some things that happen. And just give him a big hug. The things that he went through. It's set in the Depression era in Minnesota, and he is a white boy, but he's going to an Indian school, an American Indian school, where kids were sent away to be honest with you, and it's set in the Depression era. So it starts off like that, and warning, he has a tumultuous time at the school. So the Tati blender, and I'm going to attempt to blend this out. Anyway, his brother Albert is also at the school, and it's kind of like, I'm going to definitely have to do this under eye thing again, but it's kind of like a Huckleberry Finn type of theme where they end up escaping the school. So that's a spoiler alert. And the whole story is about them traveling downriver and the adventures that they have and the coming of age that they have as they travel downstream. And oh my God, does it take you on this emotional roller coaster with this little boy and his brother and some others that they end up picking up along the way. Highly, highly recommend. I found the book very riveting, very riveting. So then I want to tell you about one book very quickly that I would not advise you to waste your time. It's called Mexican Gothic. Oh my God, it was so promising at the beginning. It's a woman, this is set in Mexico. And it's a woman that goes off, and I forget the details about why, because it's been a while since I listened to this now, but she goes off to this wealthier family, the family of her cousin, if I'm not mistaken, and goes to live with them. And it's supposed to be a novel set in almost like an old mansion up in the hills of Mexico. It's set in the past. I want to say in the Depression or post-Depression era. Sorry, I didn't go look up the details, but the long and short of it is that the novel starts off super promising and is really, really interesting. And then at one point just completely jumps the shark because the way it's themed out is so preposterous that I just kind of rolled my eyes and stopped. So save yourself from that one if you see that come up in your Audible feed or in your recommended books. A book that I really, really, really want to recommend that I just think is amazing is called The Murmur of Bees. So I'm going to go in with this Bite Micellar foundation, and this is in the color M55. The Murmur of Bees is set in, the backdrop of it is the Mexican Revolution and the Spanish influenza in 1918. So I listened to this novel just when we were all getting into like the weird lockdown that we've been in and hopefully now coming out of for forever. And you know, the whole lockdown thing just kind of blew my mind that as a world, a society, a worldwide society, we could get to a place where that would happen. So wake up call for all of us. But the novel gets into the situation with the Spanish influenza at the time of the revolution in Mexico. So it was a little bit surreal in that way. What I do like about this is that, as Tati said when she first put this product out, and I guess this could be the same of any product that's like this, these like cushiony kinds of things, you can press into the pores. Yeah, so that is true. So the novel, it's centered around a young man by the name of Simonopio, like Simon O. Pio, Simonopio. And I can't even describe all that happens in this novel, but it's very much in the style of the magical realism that I described before, where the lines between reality and magic are completely blurred. And that book was, once I figured out like who the characters were and I could follow along, because it takes a while for that to happen, like the first, chapter or two where you're like, who's who, what's happening? Once you figure all of that out, if you like magical realism, I would highly advise you to consider this book. It was just touching in so many ways. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It made me cringe. It made me think. It made me get in some kind of crazy existential mood. It did everything for me. And it's one of those books that I know I'm going to listen to a second time at some point, maybe soon, because it was so well written and done. It's in several different voices. So if that kind of book bothers you, where like one chapter is written in this person's voice, the next chapter is from that person's voice, maybe stay away from this one. But if you're okay with that, it is highly complex, so interesting. You get so invested in what happens to little Simonopio and all of the people around him. And I just remember it's the kind of novel where when it ends, you just stop. You just stop in place and think and feel and absorb and wonder how you're going to go on with your life without these characters being in it anymore. Yeah, it moved me so much. So I would highly advise that one. And some of the books that are in process for me right now, meaning I have gotten through a certain portion of them and need to go on and finish them up. I have 3 open right now. An Astronaut's Guide to, is it Life on Earth? This one that I'll pop up on the screen. And it's an actual astronaut who went out into outer space. It's his sort of like autobiography, talking about his experiences with NASA and going out into space travel. Absolutely fascinating stuff. There's 1,000 Splendid Suns, which admittedly I just started, but I've been wanting to try. I also have, actually there are 4. I have Atlas Shrugged on my list. I haven't actually started that one, so I'm cheating by telling you about that one. It's supposed to be like 40 something hours long on audiobook, so I'm a little scared of that. And God Pretty in the Tobacco Field is open as well. So that's some. I probably have 4 or 5 others that I've gone through as well in the past year, but let me know what books audiobooks in particular, you recommend. The author has to be really compelling, their voice, to capture my attention. obviously, since it's an audiobook. So I would love to hear what recommendations you have for good audiobooks that I can listen to while I'm driving, doing chores, getting my makeup done. What do we think of this look? Through the power of editing, I'm going to go ahead and do liner and lashes and bronzer and cheeks. And then I'm going to come back and do the lips and the eyebrows on camera so we can see what that looks like. I will also powder my face. So we're back to finish off the look. I have done a little bit of eyeliner on top of my eyelids. I have done mascara. I filled in my eyebrows just a little bit with a pencil, but I do want to try the pomade. I put lip liner on, and I have regrets about my lip liner choice because it actually bled a little bit more. So I should probably do one of these numbers to kind of help it blend in a bit. But it's one that I've had for forever. It is the Jordana. What Jordana? Like, where do they even sell Jordana anymore? In Sedona Red. It's called Easy Liner, but it really wasn't that easy. I had to kind of overwork it. Look what I just did. You see this? You see this? Anyway, let's try to do the lips first. Again, this is Kat Von D Liquid Lipstick, or KVD. It's no longer called Kat Von D, in the color Berlin. I'm not a huge liquid lipstick fan, but as I mentioned, I saw another YouTuber using this and felt like I just needed it. Oh my gosh, look at it. Ooh, I think I like that. Let's do the top. Y'all, that is like bright. Hello, how you doing? I don't hate it though, but it is like, this is like a whole circus face going on. Let's do the eyebrows. I decided I'm gonna use the Benefit Pomade Brow Pomade. I have this little itty sample in the color 3, Warm Light Brown. One of my Sephora samples, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but because I've never used a pomade, but the directions say stroke onto brows with dual-ended angled eyebrow brush. That must be another one of their products. It's sold separately, and then to blend with a spoolie. I am going to use this brush, which I think can be a lip liner. I hope I can use this. And let's go over some of my eyebrow and hope that I do not ruin this look. I would like to take a few pictures and post on Instagram. So Jesus, take the wheel. No idea what I'm doing. Is this what we do with pomade? Guide me, friends. Do you use pomade? Share. Ooh, I see the tail coming out. Share down in the comments. So this is kind of like darkening up what I have already done. I don't want super dark eyebrows. I think that looks, for me anyway, it's not, that's a no-go. It looks too harsh, like too constructed on my face. I put too much up there. Oh, Lord. Lord. Okay, I'm getting, it's easily getting crazy, so I'm gonna just leave it alone right there. I don't want to over apply and have, I already feel like tails are coming out too far. They're uneven. We got problems today. Mayday, Mayday. So I don't think I'm, at least on first experience, I may not be a pomade kind of gal. I do like eyebrow gel. I like an eyebrow gel, and I like an eyebrow pencil, and I may just stick with that. All right, so that's what we're working with. I feel like it's entirely too much, too stark, too dark with the eyes and the lips. But that's the look, friends, and this is all I'm going to do with my hair. Yes, I look like I'm 10 years old. What can I say? But this is the look that we're going to go for today. So, initial thoughts on the Natasha Denona Pastel Palette. It's a like for me, a really strong like. I really like the color story. These are fun colors. I enjoyed swatching them. There's no question that many of the colors are a little bit lighter, at least on swatch. and that you may have to build up several layers if you go in. If you like a light wash of color, you can just do a quick layer. If you want to deepen and get, well, not deepen, if you want to increase the opacity of your color, you'll have to go maybe a few passes over. But you saw me apply and I think it went on just fine. So I'm not sure what all the like hate is about on this palette. And I'm a Natasha Denona stan anyway, so maybe I'm biased, but I give this a thumbs up. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for forever and a day as we talked about this and life and some audiobooks. Don't forget to put your audiobook recommendations in the comments. Let's help each other read or listen to good literature. Take care, friends.